Welcome to Frequency Medicine, the podcast for intuitive women, empaths, energy healers, and seekers who are ready to come home to their bodies, regulate their nervous systems, and fully embody their sacred gifts. I'm your host, Fiona Waddell, transformational energy healer, medical intuitive, and guide for women walking the path of self-reclamation and energetic mastery. Each week, we dive into grounded, practical, and soul-expanding tools to help you reset, recalibrate, and reconnect with your highest frequency. Let's begin. Today, we're going deep into the healing frequency of lineage trauma, ancestral programming, and how clearing your family line can free your intuition to soar. See, we often talk about healing our own wounds, childhood patterns, emotional trauma we've experienced in this lifetime, and nervous system regulation. But what about the energy you inherited? What about the grief, fear, or suppression passed down through your bloodline? That invisible hum in your field that says, don't speak up, don't trust what you see, don't be too different. Yet you have no idea where it came from. That is ancestral energy. And if you're an intuitive woman, chances are you felt it. You maybe even danced with it. Let's start here. So, ancestral trauma doesn't just live in stories. It lives in your cells, in your DNA. It's not just what your family said, it's what your grandmother believed, what your mother silenced, what your great-grandfather feared. In biology, we call this epigenetics. Trauma chemically marks our DNA. Stress doesn't just change the way we feel, it changes what gets passed down. Scientists like Dr. Rachel Yehuda have found that the grandchildren of trauma survivors show the same biological stress markers, even if they never experienced the original trauma themselves. Like in my case, I have grandparents that fought in World War II, and I'm pretty sure I have great-grandparents who fought in the wars. I know I have fighters all the way down the line, so in and off that, yes, there's trauma within there. And energetically, it's just as real. We pick it up. Fear, repression, silence, they imprint your frequency. I call it lineage coding. Now, the good news is we can clear it. You might be doing all the things, like all the things, meditating, journaling, connecting with your guides, and still hit a wall of doubt. That's not failure, folks. That's ancestral interference. Let's talk about how this messes with your intuition. When your nervous system is still carrying ancestral fear or that imprint, your third eye gets cloudy. You start to question your visions. You receive powerful downloads, and then you silence them because somewhere in your lineage, a voice whispered, "It's not safe to know. It's not safe to speak. You'll be judged. You'll be harmed." You just carry this sense of not feeling safe for one reason or another. Your intuition isn't broken. It's being filtered through someone else's fear or fear itself from the ancestors. But you're here to change that. So let's bring in the science for a moment. Your body emits light. Literally, it emits light. Every cell in your body releases something called biophotons, tiny particles of light that communicate between your organs, your systems, your tissues. That's not metaphor, folks. That's quantum biology. These biophotons carry your frequency. They transmit what you believe, what you feel, and here's the kicker, what you inherited. And when these photons are scattered by unresolved lineage trauma, your frequency, your signal gets fuzzy. But when you clear the static, when you reconnect to your truth, your light aligns. Your frequency becomes coherent. So, what does ancestral healing look like through the lens of frequency medicine? First, a big first, it starts with awareness. So, for me, I have been healing and working on myself for ages, and I've uncovered so many layers and worked on all my traumas. And there's still stuff coming up. And it was, I think, last summer, I was speaking to a girlfriend of mine. She's down in the States, and I said to her, I'm clearing my ancestors at this point. I'm literally like there's nothing left. Like I have worked. This is ancestral, and I just had this wave of peace and validation from the universe that yep, this wasn't mine. This is mine, but not mine. And it was just so much easier to pluck through. And it literally, instead of like incremental shifts, I had big jumps, quantum jumps in my healing. And it was just with that awareness because I have done so much work. So here it is. Ask yourself, what stories repeat in the family, in your family? What beliefs keep getting passed down? Kind of like old jewelry in a box. So we don't talk about that. You're too emotional. Just be normal. I know I had ancestors who struggled with PTSD. I know I had intuitive ancestors who were silenced. And these phrases, we don't talk about that. You're too emotional. Just be normal. These aren't just phrases, they're energetic codes. And you, my dear, beautiful soul, are the breaker of spells. Now, here's a frequency medicine practice to support you. So, here's a mini ancestral clearing ritual. So, start with your breathing. I love the square breathing. Breathing in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And do that for a few rounds and let your body settle. Then you call in your lineage. You don't need their names. Just speak. To my mothers, grandmothers, and ancestors, I honor your survival. I honor your strength. I now release what is no longer mine to carry. Then you bring in the light. Visualize golden fractal light pouring down through your crown and into your heart, right down through to your root and extending into your bloodline like a beautiful fan. Sometimes I picture it as a peacock feather fan and backward in time. Place your hand over your third eye and you can just hum as you're clearing. That sound tells your nervous system it is safe to see. It vibrates your pineal gland, shifts your vagus nerve, and opens your field gently. After doing that for a few minutes, you stand up and you shake it all off. And you can write the affirmations. I clear the fear that silenced my sight. I honor the gifts off my bloodline. I am safe to know. I am safe to speak. Let that shift ripple through you. You might have to shake it out. You might have to go for a walk. Let your light reorganize. You may need a few days of integration and processing. So, I want to share something personal with you. There was a time I felt deeply intuitive. I was doing this work. This was just, oh goodness, this was during my healing process last year when I realized it was the ancestral connection. And I was doing fairs and pulling cards, but I was second guessing my own messages. I pulled cards for other people, get downloads, and I started questioning what I was reading to them. And I was like, holy cow. And I was right. They were always saying, yep, yep, that's 100%. But here I am slipping into imposter syndrome after doing this work for years. I was like, what is wrong with me? What is going on? I was asking for guidance and support from a lot of friends. I didn't trust my own inner voice. It was my inheritance. It was my ancestral connection. I come from a long line of sensitive women who weren't allowed or chose not to speak. They coped in silence. They survived by shrinking or swallowing the beliefs of the current times. And I also had ancestors that experienced a lot of trauma. And that pattern lived in me until I decided to interrupt it. So, an example of it was I sat one night in ritual with flowers and roses and a bowl of water and a candle. And I was sitting there with my mothers. I was working with my mother line. And I said out loud, you don't have to hide anymore. And neither do I. I cried. I hummed. And I cleared. And something lifted. My third eye softened and my fear dropped away. My feels started singing again. I stood in my truth. I wasn't seeking answers. I knew what I had to do. I was confident in my work again. That's the power of frequency medicine. It doesn't just help you feel better, it helps you remember who you are. And it brings back a flashback. I had a reading really early on when I first started, like this was when I started pulling cards for people like quite a few years ago. I had a reading done by the blue-haired medium. She's out in the East Coast, and she's phenomenal. And she said, I see your grandmother. She's with you. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And instantly I knew it was my mother's mother. And she's like, yeah, yeah, she's showing you a Bible. I'm like, oh, geez. Because my mother's mother was, she had strong religious views, not like um enforced views, but she personally had strict opinions on things, and she understood people had different opinions, and that was fine. But then she showed the medium, and I knew this was happening. She showed her that she was putting the Bible to the side, not that she didn't believe it, but that she was putting it to the side, and she had pulled up a chair and like a desk to sit and learn from me. Now, this was early on in my journey, as I was pulling cards and really stepping into my own power. And I don't think she understood how 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 much that impacted me, because that meant so much to me. That was a validation I didn't even know I was looking for, but it, that made me aware that, the other side is watching and I'm on the right path, because I didn't get any warnings or anything from my loved ones or my guides from the blue-haired medium. She just was like, no, she's quite excited. She's proud of you. She's taking notes because you're doing a lot of things she was curious about. I'm like, really? Okay. And since then, I have channeled in and tuned in and connected with her. And yes, she's 100% on board with the work I'm doing and is curious and is learning and now also supporting and giving me guidance from the other side to help with my channeling. So, it's that missing link for a lot of us. As I said, I wasn't looking for that connection, but there it was. So, here's what I want you to carry away from this. You're not just healing you, you are healing your line. You're not just intuitive. You are the voice of your ancestors who weren't allowed to be. And you are safe to trust what you see. If you're not feeling an aligned progression, check in with your ancestors. And if you're having a difficult time with that and you do the rituals, go seek a medium of good reputation and see who's there and specifically ask what's the energy or the feeling off me doing the work and the healing. Do they have any tips or guidance? And the key here is we don't need to know specific incidents or episodes. We just need to know the energies and the work to release. So, my dear ones, if this resonated, I invite you to check out Unlock Academy. It's the space where we explore energy healing, psychic activation, ancestral clearing, embodiment practices. It's where I teach live classes once a week. The topics change every 6 to 8 weeks. They're all mini courses. The goal is to help you build your intuition and your abilities from the inside out so you can move in this 3D world with a 5D energy. So it's only $33 a month. I currently have 15 self-paced modules that you can work on that deal with angels, your clairs, psychic development, how to read tarot, how to do oracle, empath empowerment, 8-week course on how to ground, clear, protect your energy. And it comes with meditations and practices and journal prompts. I also have a monthly workbook that you can work through and journal. So you'll get weekly live classes, a beautiful video library, and on top of that, a community of other women remembering who they are. You can check it out at www.fionawaddell.ca/Unlock Academy. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, not just with your ears, but with your soul. So if you like this, please like, share, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay in your frequency.